Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. A wonderful day to all of you. Today let's move to the discussion of one of William Wordsworth's poems, or Intimations of Immortality. Ode Intimations of Immortality, written during 1802-1804, published in 1807. William Wordsworth, 1770-1850. William Wordsworth's or Intimations of Immortality is a spiritual autobiography in verse tracing the journey from youthful wonder through loss to philosophical peace. It embodies the romantic faith that a human life, though transient, carries an immortal essence, and that through memory, imagination, and nature we can still feel the divine pulse of eternity within us. William Wordsworth (1770–1850) is one of the greatest English Romantic poets, known for his focus on nature, childhood, imagination, and spiritual growth. Date of composition and publication of the poem: composed between 1802 and 1804, and first published in 1807 in poems in 2 volumes. When it was first composed, he titled it only as Ode. Then later, he added the full title. The poem reflects Wordsworth's spiritual crisis and his attempt to reconcile loss of childhood vision with a mature understanding. Background and inspiration. William Wordsworth wrote this ode during a period when he felt he had lost the divine and a visionary perception of nature that had inspired his youth. It was inspired by his philosophical reflections on childhood, Platonic ideas of the soul's pre-existence, and the emotional distance he felt from the innocence and wonder of early life. His friendship with Samuel Taylor Coleridge and his meditation on memory, nature, and immortality deeply influenced this poem. The phrase "intimations of immortality" suggests fleeting glimpses of a divine origin that linger even as one grows older. The genre of the work is a romantic lyric and a philosophical ode, combines elements of autobiographical reflection, spiritual meditation, and a nature poetry. The structure of the work: 11 stanzas, total 203 lines, written in irregular pindaric ode form, allowing flexible rhythm and a varied tone. The structure moves from loss to lament to remembrance to renewal, mirroring the spiritual journey from despair to faith. Central idea in the poem. The poem explores how the divine glory and a freshness of childhood vision fade with age, yet memory, imagination, and faith allow the adult mind to retain glimpses of eternal truth. It is both a lament for lost innocence and a celebration of spiritual growth. Now let's move to the summary of the work. Stanzas 1 and 2. The loss of vision. The poet laments there the radiant light he once saw in nature has dimmed. There was a time when meadows, grove, and stream to me did seem apparelled in celestial light. He feels sorrow that this divine glow has vanished. The world appears beautiful but spiritually dull. Now stanza 3 and 4, the philosophy of childhood. Wordsworth introduces the Platonic idea that the soul existed before birth in a divine dweller. He says, "Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting," meaning that As we grow, we lose memory of our heavenly origin. Children still retain their memory. Their joy and wonder reflect their closeness to the divine. Stanza 5. Childhood as Sacred Vision. The child is portrayed as a seer of prophet, still trailing clouds of glory, but as the child grows, earthly cares and the prison house of the world close around him. The spiritual vision fades with age. Stanza 6 and 7. The child's worldly limitation. The child begins to imitate adults, a little actor who learns the customs of society. Wordsworth grieves this loss of purity and the increasing separation from the divine realm. He wishes to preserve the child's freshness of spirit even in adulthood. Stanza 8. The Consolation. Despite the loss, the poet finds consolation in memory and thought. He recognizes that imagination allows him to sense immortality still through moral and emotional insight. The past becomes a source of spiritual strength. Stanzas 9 and 10. Joy and Reconciliation. Wordsworth celebrates the primal sympathy that still connects him to nature. Even though childhood's vision has faded, his mature love and understanding of nature are deeper and more enduring. The poet feels gratitude for life's continuing spiritual meaning. Stanza 11. Immortality and Gratitude. The poem ends in acceptance and peace. He affirms that something eternal remains in the human soul, a trace of the divine that survives life's changes. The closing lines express mature joy. To me, the meanest flower that blows can give thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears. Now let's talk about the major themes in the work. Loss and a compensation. The loss of childhood innocence is balanced by the gain of reflective wisdom. Childhood and a divine origin. Childhood is seen as a sacred stage when humans are closest to heaven. Immortality of the soul. Human beings carry spiritual memories from before birth. Nature as a teacher. Nature reveals spiritual truth to those who perceive it deeply. Memory and imagination. Memory restores the connection to lost visionary experience. Growth and reconciliation. Spiritual maturity accepts both the beauty and the impermanence of life. Now let's talk about the tone and mood of the poem. The poem starts with a melancholy and a yearning, then moves through philosophical reflection, ending with a joyful reconciliation and a gratitude. The tone is lyrical, meditative, and a reverent, full of spiritual emotion and a intellectual calm. Now let's discuss some of the most important lines from the poem. The first lines. There was a time when a meadow, grove, and a stream to me did seem, apparelled in celestial light. Childhood vision saw nature as divine. The adult now feels that radiance fading. Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul comes from a divine existence, but it forgets it upon entering the material world. Heaven lies about us in our infancy. Children live close to God and a spiritual truth before worldly experience clouds their vision. The soul that rises with us, our life star, hath had elsewhere its setting. Human life begins in a spiritual realm. Our true origin is celestial, not earthly. The thought of our past years in me doth breed perpetual benediction. Memories of childhood bring continual blessings and a comfort to the poet. Though nothing can bring back the hour of splendor in the grass, of glory in the flower. Youth's vivid joy cannot return, but its memory enriches maturity. To me, the meanest flower that blows can give thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears. Even the simplest part of nature can evoke profound, unspeakable emotions. Now let's talk about the philosophical context of the poem. Influenced by Plato's theory of recollection, that is, anamnesis, that the soul knew truth before birth, expresses Wordsworth's on romantic belief in the divine unity between man, nature, and the infinite. Reflects his idea of spiritual evolution, losing divine perception but gaining wisdom. Now let's talk about the imagery and symbolism used in the poem. Light, that is divine truth and a childhood perception. Nature, the visible expression of the spiritual world. Child as a symbol of purity, imagination, and a pre-earthly memory. Prison house, worldly experience that limits the divine vision. Flower and a grass, transience of beauty, continuity of emotional depth. Moving on to the discussion of the style and technique used in the poem. A lyrical diction, an emotional elevation typical of romantic poetry. Frequent use of personification, metaphor, and an apostrophe, that is addressing nature, the child, or memories. Shifts in rhythm and tone reflect the movement of thought and feeling. Combines personal confession with a universal philosophy. Critical appreciation. It's considered one of Wordsworth's greatest and most mature odes. Critics view it as the culmination of romantic spiritual philosophy, celebrated for reconciling youthful joy and a mature insight. Matthew Arnold called it the highest watermark of the Romantic movement. Samuel Taylor Coleridge admired its visionary grandeur, though he questioned its Platonic theology. Contemporary relevance of the poem speaks to modern readers about a lost memory and a rediscovery of meaning, encourages an inner connection with the nature and the divine despite modern distractions. Its psychological insight into childhood and the aging mind makes it timeless.